Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. And today I'm going to be continuing the review for the Epilog Sidecar, which, if you don't know, is a device that enhances the adaptive cruise control and the lane centering of my car. And the car that I have is the 2020 Toyota RAV4 Hybrid. And right now I'm just driving the car manually, but with this device I can enable my system. I just got a little prompt on my dash that says that radar cruise is available, and on my steering wheel, when I press my set button, you'll hear a little ding from the device, and now I've activated the adaptive cruise control and the lane centering. And now the device is controlling the gas and brake, and right now it's like using a lead car in front of me to determine like how fast I should be going. And it's also not controlling my steering wheel. And if you see my other videos, I have been reviewing the first version and now the second version of this device. And today I'm doing a little errand in the evening, and so we get to test out the night performance of this device. And it really shouldn't differ that much, especially if you're just driving on the highway when all the lanes are pretty well marked. But I've done a handful of drives with the Epilog Sidecar now, and overall I'm very satisfied with what it provides. And what it does provide is basically way better lane centering than the stock Toyota system, and some more benefits for the gas and brake as well too. Like right now, I'm not steering, I'm not pressing the gas or the brake, it's just kind of going on its own. And you might be wondering, well, the stock system already has those features, like why would I want to spend $500 on a device like this? And I will say that the steering is just more confident over the stock system. And the fact that I can do hands-free while I'm driving like very basic highways like this is a pretty good benefit. Normally if I'm driving with the Toyota Safety Sense system, I always keep my hand on the wheel, and I actually provide like very slight pressure so that the system knows that I'm constantly like driving. Because if you've ever tried out the stock system of most cars, it always requires some sort of like wheel nudge to let the system know that you're still paying attention, because not every car has like a camera to look at your eye gaze, and that's where the Epilog Sidecar does benefit over the stock system, in that there is a camera looking at the driver the entire time, and it'll know if I'm paying attention to the road. That way I would argue that it's actually safer than the hands on the wheel, because you can easily just keep your hand like locked into the steering wheel, for instance, and just kind of, you could doze off without the system knowing. With the camera here, the moment your head pose is like tilted down or tilted up, especially if it sees your eyes that are closed or your eyes are somewhere else besides in front of you, then the system will alarm you to let you know that, hey, like, you need to pay attention. And I've done a test for the driver monitoring system with the previous version of Epilog Sidecar. I'll link to that in the description, or you can follow the playlist where this video will land on. But my assumption is that the driver monitoring performance will be the same as it was in the first version of this device. But if anyone wants to actually see it in action again, let me know, and I can likely make that happen. I mean, these tests are costing me because gas isn't really that cheap right now, but you know, it's still fun. So on a personal level, like, I would do it without the video, maybe, I don't know. But if someone wants to see the, if anybody wants to see that done on a video, let me know. My theory is that it's going to be exactly the same as it was before. One thing that's actually pretty neat that I recently found out, even though Epilog actually did email me about it, but in the installation video that I posted, I did have to download an app in order to load the software onto the device. And what I didn't know was that the app actually talks with Apple CarPlay. The information is obviously sparse. It gives you readings for essentially 3 things. So it'll let you know if your stock system is ready for the device to turn on, and then it'll give you information on when the device is actually on. So right now it's hard to see, maybe I'll take a photo, but there's a big active over here, which is like a green icon, and it also lets me know like how fast I've set my car, and right now I have it set at 67 miles per hour, and it's also reflected on there. I mean, it's redundant information because obviously that information is also on here. Actually, all the information on here is actually on my dash as well too, so you really don't need the companion app. And Epilog did state that they actually have like a proof of concept where they can load the images from the device onto here, or even show you like a map view. I think those are kind of useful. I think it depends on how you look at it. Like if they're gathering data from like Mapbox to show onto here, I frankly don't care about that. I really prefer Google Maps over any other map system, and so anything else to me is just kind of not needed. And so if it is just going to be using Mapbox, like I don't need that, because I can usually just press the map button and then now I have Google Maps on here. So yeah, if that's like what they want to do, I think that'll be cool for maybe people with cars that don't have built-in CarPlay, or no, it didn't make any sense. If you have CarPlay, just put on Google Maps. If you've seen my other videos, I have used like the Comma devices, where at one point in time they actually did allow what they called navigate on OpenPilot, and what that did was using the software, which was using Mapbox and OpenStreetMaps, you would type in a destination into the software, and when you activated OpenPilot, it would actually make lane changes for you. If you put the signal on, like there was no nudging necessary. At some points it would even try to navigate intersections if you wanted to make a left or a right. But overall it was definitely experimental. I'm not even sure why Comma allowed it to be used in public roads, but it's gone now. I think Comma finally smartened up and realized that they really shouldn't be releasing stuff like that, because it was honestly quite dangerous, especially for the lane changes, considering that there is no actual like blind spot monitoring for the lane changes. And at the same time too, the performance was not good, and yeah, it was definitely like a forced marketing scheme. They did a whole like campaign around it. They called it the Taco Bell Run. But high level, it was fun from like a curiosity point of view, but in terms of actually using it day to day, it was just not there. And not that I expected it to be. I think it was still incredible what Comma did. I just don't think that it was really ready for anyone to just kind of download and install. And this is gonna be, I think I'm gonna stop it here actually. I'm just gonna let this person get ahead of me. There is cut-in detection that's better than the stock system built into this Epilog Sidecar. However, in that situation, I wouldn't trust it to make the right decision, because yes, the camera is fairly wide angled and it could likely see beyond my A-pillars, but it's still not enough to actually make the right decisions in situations just like that, where we have multiple cars merging into your lane. And in truth, even though the camera can see quite a lot, the software that the device runs on, which is OpenPilot, it doesn't actually use the entire camera frame to feed and influence the model or AI that's built into the system to determine where it needs to be in the lane and how fast. And so, despite it being quite wide as far as a physical camera lens, the data is just, it's quite narrow still. And that's just inherent to OpenPilot. Now, if Epilog wants to really like kind of break themselves from, I guess, the OpenPilot's kind of little net or bucket, like if they can train their own model to utilize more of the actual camera frame, that might be useful in some situations. I don't think for the actual bread and butter, if I was to driving in the middle lane of the highway, it's not really going to make much of a difference. It's really going to be about like when they want to start utilizing more usage on like city roads or surface streets instead of just highway. So I wouldn't prioritize that, to be honest. I think the only thing that Epilog Sidecar ought to do is just make sure to maintain their price point, because right now I think it's a fantastic product considering how much it costs. It's like $500 and it provides an awesome enhancement to the stock system. So and if you can compare that to a Comma device which costs $1,000, like it's in my opinion kind of a no-brainer, because the performance difference between the Comma device and Epilog as of right now, it's I would say it's like almost zero, besides like maybe a few features here and there that may not even apply to everyone. Like I think I covered it in my previous video, but I would love to be able to control, I guess, the aggression factor of the car accelerating and whatnot with the steering wheel here. That feature's found on official Comma devices, but it's not on Epilog. However, at the end of the day, it's really not the end of the world by not having it. And you might be asking, like, how do I know that the performance is the same? Well, I do also have a Comma C3X that's running on version 0.11, and that is the latest release that Comma has. That's also available on the Comma 4. And to be honest, the difference between the Epilog Sidecar and whatever version they have on here versus what's on version 0.11, like if you're just driving on the highway here, you're really not going to notice a difference. And so it being half off is just a huge driver for me. And having said that, obviously, like my car, I think when I bought it brand new during COVID in 2020, you know, prices were pretty jacked up. So I think I paid around $30,000. And so when you think about, like when I'm talking about costs, it's almost a wash, I guess, considering that, you know, we're adding on $1,000 or $500 on top of the $30K that I already paid for this car. And so maybe that argument isn't the strongest, but you know, we are now in 2026. The economy is completely shot right now, and so maybe that $500 difference is actually kind of you know, can really influence a buying decision. Because if you do have a compatible car and you have like a really grinding commute, I would really suggest buying this.
In 2 miles, use the middle 2 lanes to take exit 24B for US 101 towards San Francisco.
I had a friend who was driving I believe it was a Lexus NX, which I think was actually the Lexus version of the RAV4. Could be wrong. Is it RX or NX? I don't know. Either way, it's one of those models, and he was driving to and from work. He had like an hour plus commute, and you know, he was just doing the like just like keep your hand on the wheel trick for the stock Toyota safety sense. And I finally did convince him to buy a Comma C3X before the Epilog was available for purchase, and he can't stop talking about how much it's made his commutes better. And it really does, though, because it can handle a lot of your driving, especially if you're doing a lot of highway driving. Then it is quite useful on that end. Now, if your commute is like all city or all like country back road, it might be a different story, because you are going to be dealing with kind of situations that are not within the scope of this product. Really, it's really meant to be used on highways.
In half a mile, use the middle 2 lanes to take exit 24B for US 101 towards San Francisco.
I think you need to pay attention here. I think they made the right lane. Let's just move over just to be sure. Just did a lane change there, and I think I put on my map just to make sure. Okay, I'm supposed to go to San Francisco. Okay.
Exit 24B.
I guess I could have stayed there, but it's okay. We'll just stay in this lane. Yeah, so right now we're approaching this bend. Like, I've got the car set to 67 miles per hour, but it's slowing down on its own because it does see a car in front of me, and it's just keeping a distance that it deems safe while I'm within that curve. And so, I mean, again, like when you talk about like a reduction in your cognitive load when you're driving, like this is such a great system. And again, for $500, I think it's quite a good purchase. Just did another lane change there, and again, when I'm doing the lane changes, though, I am doing a full shoulder check.
399B.
Oh, hold on a second here. Trying to cut that guy off a little bit. My bad, bro.
In a quarter mile, continue onto Old Middlefield Way.
That is really odd. I don't know where I'm at, to be honest. I should probably pay attention. But we're now, I think I could turn it on here. I might. Actually, maybe I won't. Where are we right now? We are getting onto no longer on the highway. I guess I can just activate it. Let's just turn it on. I'm gonna set it to like 45 miles an hour. I'm just holding up the the buttons on my steering wheel to change those settings. Take my sunglasses off too. Didn't realize I had them on. And it looks like my exit's like coming up. So
at the next light, turn left.
But yeah, that's a really quick, just kind of evening dusk drive. I'm gonna signal and actually move over into this lane.
At the light, turn left onto Reinsdorf Avenue.
And we'll see how my mood is, but when I'm done my errand, I might also just go ahead and continue filming. That way we can kind of get a darker situation. I'm not quite sure,
In a
but
quarter mile, turn left onto San
either
Luis
way,
Avenue.
if I don't turn on, thank you for watching. And if you have any questions on the device or some things I've talked about, feel free to just leave those questions in the comments. And if there's stuff that you want to see beyond what you saw today, leave those in the comments as well too. I appreciate you watching, and I shall catch you on the next one. Okay, so I just got done with my errand, and now I'm pressing the record button again, and we are just heading back. It's much darker now.
Take exit 398B.
It's much darker now, so we're really going to be seeing how the system performs at night. I've also taken off my sunglasses, and so now the driver monitoring system is going to be looking at my actual eyeballs versus just where my head's posed. And so if I'm looking at like my dash or my middle screen here, it actually will warn me that I need to pay attention. Right now I'm still driving manually, but we are now entering the highway, and I will move into the perfect lane to use the system, which is like the middle lanes for a highway, and I'm just gonna activate it now. So I'm going to set it to around 68 miles per hour, and right now we're only going about 57, 58 because the car in front of us is also going the exact same speed, and so the car again is just keeping the appropriate distance away from them. And you're likely not going to see it on camera, but there is an infrared LED that's beside the driver monitoring system, and that's going to allow the camera to actually see my face and to see my eyeballs, even though my cabin is quite dark. I can actually see like a dim light from the infrared LED, which actually has me like a little bit concerned. Maybe I'll throw an email to Epilog Sidecar just to find out, I guess, like two things, like how powerful the LED is, and then also like what specific frequency they're using for the infrared. Because I know that like you know, I have a niece and nephew, and we were like buying like nanny cams for them at one point, and I know that there is like science and research around how harmful an infrared LED can be to your eyes. And so yeah, I should contact Epilog about that just to see where they're actually landing. It would suck to know that, like, you know, like a year down the line I find out that they've just been pumping infrared into my eyes. We don't want that. But so far this night drive, it's performing exactly how I assumed it would, which is quite well. I know in the past I've mentioned that the system doesn't really rely on the lane markings when it's figuring out where it needs to be in a lane or on the road, but it still does have that data, and it will still fall back to it if there's no like lead car, for instance. And at nighttime the lane markings are actually more clear because especially with the reflectors on there. And you can actually, I think, verify that if you go to the OpenPilot GitHub and look at their actual data set of the photos they've used and also then marked out, you can like really see the lane markings quite well. Like even with my naked eye, obviously, like it's just clear. Now, if you were like on, you know, surface streets or city streets, and you have a lot more like lane markings, I think you would stress out the system more. But for pure highway driving, there really isn't much of a difference between day and night when it comes down to the lane centering, and obviously the adaptive cruise control too. It's kind of a bummer that this guy's going like 60 miles an hour, but maybe it's okay. Kind of, I don't know. I could go around him, but I also appreciate that he is going slower, and that way, when the people behind me are passing me, they'll understand that I'm not the one exactly holding everyone up. Even though I'm part of the problem right now, just staying behind him, I should just get in front, but I think we're okay. And I do apologize if the audio does sound a little bit more like noisy. I think I'm going to be going on a camping trip soon, so I've reattached a lot of accessories to my car, and it does influence how loud the car is. But so far, I mean, I can still hear myself talking, so it's not so bad. So hopefully the microphone of this camera still picks up my voice. But I'll see when I start editing it. But so far, this is how the system is supposed to be. It is supposed to be boring and uneventful because, you know, its real main tasks just keep you in the lane and follow the car in front of you at a safe distance. And if there is no car in front of you, just make sure that, you know, it at least goes to the speed that you set it at. So again, right now I have the car set to the maximum speed of 68 miles an hour, but because the person in front of me is only going 63, that's how fast we're going. And now moving over, so right now I'm at 65, and then the car then accelerates to 68 miles an hour, which is where it's at now. And if I do see a lot of cars coming up behind me, I will actually just move over. You know what? No, let's just be nice right now and just move over. I just did a shoulder check there. I just nudged the wheel, and then I had to manually turn off the blinker stop. But that was a good lane change. Again, it's nighttime, and so visibility is lower, technically. Lane markings are still quite clear, though. And it did that fairly well. We do have a merge coming up, and luckily the person that's merging in is quite faster than me, so I don't have to worry about it too much. And yeah, so there was no issues with that merge. You know, I know that the stock Toyota system, sometimes it will actually brake pretty harshly in situations like that because, you know, the radar that the car uses to determine how far it needs to be, the beam is quite narrow, and so there is really barely any blind spot, or sorry, cut-in detection for the stock Toyota system. But because this device, the Epilog Sidecar, does actually take into account cut-in detection, it does make decisions to make those situations a little smoother, and you saw that happen there. I know that there's some cars where if a car did that, like your car would just be slamming its brakes, but because this is a little smarter than that, that situation was handled quite smoothly. And if you are wondering, yes, the Epilog Sidecar, which runs on OpenPilot, it still kind of does like sensor fusion where it will still read data from my radar, which I think is great because not only can it help in determining how fast I need to be behind a lead car, but even though this kind of hacks itself into your car system, it still maintains a lot of the safety features, and one of the ones connected to the radar is the collision avoidance. And so like this car I think has automatic braking if I'm going to be like colliding or whatever, and so that stays intact with my car. That's not always going to be the case for every car that's compatible with Epilog Sidecar. It just so happens that Toyotas of this generation have like fantastic compatibility where you really get all the benefits of what OpenPilot and the Sidecar Epilog has to offer. And one of those is the retaining collision avoidance, and then also having like auto resume for the gas whenever you're stuck behind a person that's stopped, and the cut-in detection works fairly well in most situations. But overall, again, this is a 2020 Toyota RAV4, and I think it's one of the best generations to have for systems like this that run OpenPilot. Because unfortunately, one second here, I'm going to just make sure that I have my hands over the wheel. It doesn't follow. Okay, it didn't follow. Because sometimes it will follow. I mean, I was actually just perusing the Discord for OpenPilot today, and I went into the OpenPilot experience thread, and I think one of them was, on the latest iteration of the model, it still takes exits, and so it's a tough problem, like I hope I'm not sounding like a comma hater. I mean, I absolutely love what they've done with OpenPilot. My years spent using OpenPilot on comma devices, fantastic. Did it suck that they all broke? Yeah. However, I think it was worth it. Again, we spent over 30 grand on this car, and I think I've spent in the lifetime of the car, it might have been. Let's do the math in real time. So, $1,200 plus tax on the Comma 2. And then I spent another $2,400 for the Comma 3. So what is that? 24 plus 12. Oh my God, we're already up there. What is that? 36. And then I spent another $800, I think, to send in my dead Comma 3, and then they gave me the Comma 3X, and so we're over 4 grand in money spent for Comma devices. But I think every dollar was well spent. The driving experience, in my opinion, has been just fantastic with these OpenPilot devices, because personally I hate driving. Actually, given the choice, if we had a better transit system here in the US, I wouldn't own a car. I'd rent a car whenever I needed one. But it just so happens that public transit absolutely sucks here, and you're kind of just forced to live a lifestyle that revolves around your car. Now, I mean, obviously, I could get away with it, but it definitely does create a lot of pain points in order to live a lifestyle around public transit. And basically, going back to what I was talking about, I hate driving, but having this system just makes that driving experience so much better, because I don't really need to think about too many things while I'm driving. Basically all I'm doing is kind of just babysitting to make sure that it feels right, I'm still centered in the lane, just looking around to make sure that I'm not going to get cut off, or I'm not cutting someone else off, which I probably did in the previous segment of this video. In my defense, he was going 80 miles an hour in the slow lane, so I feel like I'm not fully to blame for that. He did pass me on the right, not the best etiquette. However, yeah, for the most part, when I'm chilling here, like, I don't need to worry about much at all. Like, I'm just kind of really relaxing on this drive and just making sure that things are working okay. Like right now, like there's been some slowdown with some of the cars here, but the system handles it just okay. And if you've ever used the stock system for your Toyota, if like for instance you're in this right lane where a lot of the lane markings are going to be changing and whatnot, the stock Toyota system does not handle that very well. Like if you're in like the what I call the golden lane, which is in the middle where there's just a solid like lane marking, the Toyota Safety Sense works decent. It'll still have like a little like wavering to it, but not as bad as it would be in this right lane. Like if you notice just right now, because it was a merging lane, there was definitely a wider lane, and with the stock system, it'll try to center itself in the middle of that wide lane, but it'll do it quite slowly. And then by the time it would have been in the middle, the lane would have again kind of constricted and gone back to normal width. And then, yeah, so there's kind of a delay in how it works. But with OpenPilot and OpenPilot devices like the Sidecar Epilog, there is kind of like code behind the model or the AI deciding like where it needs to be in the lane, even though the lane is like wider. For instance, I'm gonna just keep track here and make sure it doesn't follow that. Okay, good. And so there is that. That's another great thing about having an OpenPilot device like the Epilog Sidecar. So we've got a person coming in, and my car has already slowed down for it before that became an issue, which is again the cut-in detection. And yeah, so going back to how this is better than the stock system, in situations like that, like you aren't doing as much thinking or fighting with the car, because I know that when I do use the stock system, like when my Comma.ai died, I didn't have a device for like a few months. I had to use the stock system again, and I noticed that in situations where the lane width would vary, I'm constantly having to kind of just like preemptively or correct after the fact when the system decided that like it wanted to be in the middle of the lane. And luckily with the Comma system, they have trained it so that it should kind of stay where it needs to be, even though the lanes are diverging or converging. It's not always the case though, obviously. Like for the most part in the US, most of our exits are on the right hand side, and so like you will still get some diving in the right hand side, but we do have a few exits on the highway here, especially in this area, that are on the left side, and I have noticed that the Comma does not really kind of handle those the best. So I guess that's, you know, the system is not perfect, but works well enough that, again, I have used this. Well, I've used the version 1 of the Epilog Sidecar and traveled thousands of miles with it, like cross borders with it. So
in 2 miles, use the right 2 lanes to take exit 4 for Blossom Hill Road.
You can use for long distance driving if that's your jam. I haven't done a long trip in a while, but I think I have one coming up soon, and we might even do a little bit of off-roading. So maybe we can check out how it reacts in those situations. But overall, I know I already said goodbye in the previous segment of this video. I'll say goodbye again, but thanks for watching again. Any questions, comments, I try to read them all and answer them all. There'll be you know, I'll make sure to comment back if you got any questions or comments. So feel free to ask away or comment away. And I have someone in the comments, pretty funny comment they made, and they said that the Epilog Sidecar looks like the Transformer Shockwave. And maybe while I'm talking here, I'll just like superimpose an image of it to see if anyone agrees with this gentleman, because I do see some resemblance, but I think it's just because it has one camera. But let me know what you think. You know, he was quite focused on it and asked me to ask you all, I think, and so I'll put it up again. I appreciate the people that do watch the videos and have comments. I think all this technology is just fascinating. And so, you know, when I first used the Comma 2 and had the system working, it was really a dream come true, because, you know, I've done a bunch of road trips growing up, and I've always just wished, man, like, if I can just be on this highway and the car can just go straight and then follow a car in front of it safely, like, I would be so happy. And so when I finally got the Comma 2, it was just, yeah, it really was a dream come true. And so that still follows with the Epilog Sidecar. If you've never used like an enhanced version of your car's like safety systems, you will be blown away, I think, with just how effective it is. And again, $500 in this economy is quite a lot of money. But if you can swing it, don't go broke doing it, but if you can swing it, I do believe it's worth a try. Again, $500, just like Comma, Epilog Sidecar has a 30-day like full money back guarantee. So like, try it out for 30 days. If you hate it, just return it. They might make you pay for shipping back, I'm not sure. When they made me ship back my previous unit that I reviewed for them, I didn't pay for shipping, but that's also because, again, I reviewed it for them. They didn't pay me. Again, but also just a reminder, I'm not being paid to do these reviews, but I was given this Epilog Sidecar for long-term review, though. Anyways, long story short, if you can swing the cash, Epilog Sidecar, fantastic alternative to the also other fantastic product, which is the Comma 4. Definitely more pricier, but all of them are going to be great. I can't vouch for like some of the other like third-party devices, but I'm sure they're great as well. I can't talk to the reliability of this device, and then when I look back at the history of how the other hardware from Comma has lasted, you know, it wasn't the most promising. Like, I think I get a year out of each one before something happens, and that might be something to consider. Like, if, again, so swinging the $500 is a lot in this really crappy economy that we have. But if you come to the mindset that, like, hey, this is going to provide a huge benefit to your driving, you do have a 1-year warranty. Now, what happens after the 1 year, I'm not, you know, like, that's going to be up in the air. But for me personally, if I were really racking up the miles, if I get a full year of usage, I'll be happy with it. I mean, that's why even when my Comma 2 died, like, I really didn't, well, at the time my finances were different, so I didn't really hesitate to purchase the Comma 3 when it first got released, because, I mean, at the time I had the money for it, and I also knew, based on my experience from the Comma 2, that I was going to love it. And I did, and still do. mean, I wish it didn't break, but you know, I can't really help that. But I think the same feeling is going to be the same for this device, in my opinion. And I don't know how convincing that is, but I love it so much that I would. And honestly, if Epilog Sidecar did not send me this unit for review, I probably would have just bought it anyways. Well, right now I'm controlling the gas, but not the steering wheel. I did have to help it a little bit there, so it wasn't a full success. I have it activated. And one thing too, if you press the brake while the system is on, it'll actually disable the system, but it does allow the gas. So right now I'm going to gas it. Ooh, it followed that guy. That's not good. But right now I'm gassing it, but I have the speedometer, or I have the setting set to 45 miles an hour. But because I'm only lightly pressing the gas pedal, well, I have to stop here actually. I'm actually overriding the gas and brake, and so by pressing the gas, let me do this again really quick. So again, my set speed is 45, but right now I'm just feathering my throttle or gas pedal, and I can maintain a speed of around, again, like 33 miles an hour. So you could technically like slow it down by pressing the gas, which is kind of weird. I'm gonna pause it here because we can't stop for this red light. And so that's why sometimes you can kind of just like fudge, like slowing down in a curve to get where you want to be while it's steering itself. But again, that's not what it's made for. Like, that's just for funsies. Really just made for the highway. But either way, I will say goodbye again, and yeah, thanks for watching, and can't wait to see your comments and to find out what you all want to see later on. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you all later.